Well, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here in the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. And guess what? This is one of my favorite times of the day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I am so excited about spending 1,800 seconds with you all. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I show up here for just 1,800 seconds. And I am just glad to be here. And I show up trying to make sure that I share some nuggets so that we can show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. If you're running by my channel for the very first time, hang on, just give me 1,800 seconds. I promise you that's all I need. That's really all we need to just prove to ourselves that we can be better tomorrow than we were today. It doesn't mean that we got everything wrong today. It doesn't mean that everything was a wash, but it means we take the opportunity to do some introspection and some reflection and see, how can I be a little bit better tomorrow than I was today? So that's what we talk about, and we do it for only 1,800 seconds. I want to just invite you all to make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And once you subscribe, make sure you go ahead and you click on that notification bell to let you know whenever I've gone live, whenever I've uploaded new content, because we talk about a plethora of things. There is no subject that is untouchable when we're talking here on this platform. Listen, I want to ask you all this. How important is your reputation to you? How important is your reputation? Do you care what people are saying? Do you know what people are saying? And then I want to ask you this. Do people listen to you? Are you able to capture the attention to people? Do they stop and listen to what you say? We're going to talk about that as soon as we come right back. Meanwhile, go ahead and share this conversation. Tell somebody, come on, let's talk to Cutler. I promise you all, I will be right back, okay?
Let's talk to Cutler. One more thing, like subscribe and share. Come on, let's talk to Cutler.
All right, come on, let's talk to Cutler. I'm not going to waste any time with the preliminaries. I'm going to jump into the conversation in just a moment. But I just want to say hi to a few people. Those are our LTTC VIPs for the evening. They are Annie Cutler. She says, let's ride. Love you all. K Sharp, good to see you, my friend. K Sharp says, good evening. Wendy Del Val says, good evening. And it's always good to see all of you. Do me a favor. Come on over in the chat room. Come on over in the chat room. Yes, it's Thursday. It's time for Let's Talk to Cutler. And I tell you what we're doing. We're reading from this book, Billboards to Better, 366 Daily Sources of Motivation and Inspiration Along the Highway of Life. We're riding along the highway. We're reading these billboards and we are applying them to our lives. I get it, you all. Some of them may not necessarily feel like they pertain to us. So what are we encouraging you to do? Take those and share them with somebody. Some of them may not necessarily pertain to us today, but guess what? We are putting them in our arsenal anyway, because they may not apply today, but we're hopeful that there is a tomorrow that's coming along when they really will apply. So let's hang on to them. If you don't have the book, run on over to Amazon.com, pick up the book. I love you all. Run on over to Amazon.com and pick up the book. There are 366 daily sources of motivation and inspiration in this book. Then you all, on top of that, there are some bonus quotes at the end of the book, and I hope you do yourself a favor. Get the book. Do you need it for the conversation? No. But still, get it and then come on into this chat room. Listen, tell people, don't let not getting this book stop you from tuning into this conversation with the rest of these passengers, all right? It is so good to see all of you all. Remember, last Thursday we had a conversation, and I reminded you all that your life, just as this cup is filled with water, so is your life filled with the blessings and the promises of God. Your lives are filled with so many wonderful things. And I'll tell you all what happened to me this week. The cup started evaporating. And if you look closer, you could have seen a line where it started. The water was evaporating. But you know what? I reminded myself by putting that cup under the faucet and filled it right back up. I said, no, my life is filled with goodness. My life is filled with promise. My life is filled with valuable. My life is filled with all these good things. All right. So I want to remind you all, take a look at your cup and remind yourself that your life is filled with those things. You all know how we do every Tuesday and Thursday. We read quotes from Tuesdays, we read the quotes from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and on Thursdays, we read the quotes from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's just what we do. And we're going to read our quotes, of course, today. But you all, I want to do something different this evening. As we look at these quotes, I want to read something to you out of my fifth book. Out of my fifth book. Yeah, Wendy, I'm glad you all have your cups. Yes, keep your cups and remind yourself. Remind yourself. Sometimes you have to demonstrate, because I often say that what an affirmation won't do, a demonstration will. And sometimes you don't remember all of the words to the affirmation, but you certainly remember this demonstration. Every time you walk by this cup, you remember, you know what? I got it. I'm filled with promise. I'm filled with hope. I'm filled with goodness. All right, I want to read something to you all from my fifth book. We don't always get it right the first time. Listen carefully, you all. Sometimes we lose our footing. Sometimes we lose our way. Sometimes we lose ourselves. Sometimes along our journey, we discover things and people that we did not expect to find. But if we are blessed, we are given another opportunity to learn what we did not learn. And if we are wise, we stay on the journey, knowing that what should be, one day will be. Not all lessons are for all people, but all people can learn. And I believe that all people can teach. It is the person who is honest and willing to expose his vulnerabilities who is most capable of teaching by example. And it is the person who acknowledges his weaknesses and failures who becomes the greatest student. Sometimes our journey and the learning process can be painfully purging, but purging nonetheless. I wrote that in this book, you all. We don't always get it right the first time. And it goes on to say, as you read these lessons from that particular book, find the ones that expose your weaknesses. Sometimes we don't want to expose our weaknesses and we don't want to expose our vulnerabilities, but find the lessons that expose your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses. Before they strengthen you, catch this, they might anger you or rub you the wrong way, but eventually you will be better, stronger, and wiser. It amazes me how I wrote that in my fifth book about allowing lessons to anger you and all of that, but they would eventually make you better. It's amazing that I wrote that, and then 2 books later, I ended up writing a book about billboards to better. I believe in making the journey together, you all. I believe in fellow passengers. I believe in showing up. I believe in strengthening each other. I believe that the strong can help sometimes bear the infirmities of the weak. I believe that we are all in this thing together. That's why I'm always so thankful for whatever space you all allow me to share with you. I'm so thankful. And just as you all are smiling and looking forward to the Tuesdays and Thursdays with Let's Talk to Cutler, I do the same thing. I'm the same way. I cannot wait until my workday comes to an end or close enough to an end where I can spend time with you all. So having said that, let me just go into the quote for July the 28th. The quote for July 28th says, it takes right off with where we left off, you all. It says, your life is filled with the promise that someone else is anticipating. Your life is filled with the promise that someone else is anticipating. And I am going to just give you all a heads up. I'm going to warn you that as I was preparing and just sort of looking at and just getting my thoughts together for this evening, I was really, really emotional, especially as I thought about this particular quote. Your life is filled with the promise that someone else is anticipating. This is a reminder for us to be thankful for every ounce of good that comes into our life. It's a reminder to be grateful for every blessing, whether it is large or whether it's small. It is a reminder to be appreciative for all that you have and for all that you are. What I discovered is that sometimes we are so thankful for the things that we have, but we forget to be thankful for who we are. We really do, because it's one thing to see the tangible things that we have, and we can give thanks for that, but the intangible, who we are, we overlook that so often. But this is a reminder to be appreciative for all that you are. It's a sobering reminder that somebody else is worse off than you. It's a reminder that for every one thing that you don't have, you still have a whole lot more than some other people. That's why it says your life is filled with the promise that someone else is anticipating. I was recently reading an article, excuse me, I was recently reading an article, you all, and it literally made me lose my breath because it indicated that over 500,000 people in the United States alone is homeless every night. And that still does something to me emotionally. That's more than the city of Atlanta. That's more than the city of Richmond. That's more than the city of Orlando. It's almost twice Orlando, you all. Over 500,000 people in the United States alone is homeless every night. And I thought about how I grew up. We didn't have running water. We didn't have indoor plumbing, but we weren't homeless. We didn't have central heating and air. In fact, we had one heater to heat the whole house. And in the summertime, we slept with the windows open, but we weren't homeless. I went on to read another article, and the statistics blew my mind. You all, over 3 million children a year die from poor nutrition and hunger. Over 3 million children a year. And again, I thought about how I grew up. My mother sometimes struggled to keep food on our table, but we didn't starve. She would sometimes borrow food just to make a whole meal, but we didn't starve. And sometimes I know people look at me now and they probably wonder, why, Cutler, are you so grateful? Why are you so thankful? Why are you so generous? And why are you so giving? You all, God has been good to me. I can't put it any other way. God has been good to me. And I have no doubt that he's been good to you as well. I look back over my life and I realized that God used other people to help me make it through life. So I vowed rather that if I were ever able to help anybody else, I would do just that. And I remember I used to pray to God, please bless me, but while you're blessing me, please make me a blessing to somebody else. And I want to remind you that you are an answer to somebody's prayer. The gifts and the very things that we talked about, you all, the gifts and the promises in your life, the blessings that flood your life, they are not just for your life only. May I remind you of that? May I remind us all to be thankful. Thankful that there comes a time when we can be the lender and not the borrower. To be appreciative that we are sometimes above and we are not beneath. To be grateful when we are blessed in abundance. I had a friend who, I was out in California and I hadn't heard from him in a while, and I made contact and I had no idea. Look up Skid Row, you all. I had no idea that he had spent so many years on Skid Row. It is one of the largest homeless populations in the country. One of the largest. And I had no idea that a good friend of mine was out there. You want to know why I count my blessings? God has been good to me. And if this pandemic has shown me anything, it has been a reminder that I have more than enough. When this pandemic hit, I had enough food in my house to last a whole year. This pandemic has taught me that I have more clothes than I could ever wear. And I probably have enough linen to operate a small hotel. I really do. And honestly, y'all, I'm not bragging. I am just thankful. I'm just thankful. These are all reminders for me to just give thanks for what we have. And I want you all to give thanks. I know many of you do. Give thanks for what you have and recognize that you have the capacity to be a blessing to somebody else's life. May I invite you to ask for the blessings and then to ask to become a blessing. That does not, and that's not just about intangible form, you all. It's just not about in a tangible form. But we all have so much to share. And you say, well, Cutler, I don't have a whole lot to share. But there are things that you're flowing with that other people don't have. You have enough love to share, enough joy, enough peace, enough hope, enough laughter. Did you know that there's some people who have not laughed in years? But you have enough laughter to share, enough wisdom, enough kindness, enough forgiveness, enough heart to share with somebody. May I suggest to you that even the leftovers of your life, is the abundance that somebody else needs. You've got what I call just enough water to help somebody else's garden grow. So the anecdote to this particular lesson, the little language down at the bottom says this: their garden might never grow if you don't fill your pot with water. They may never get it if you don't release it. Do your part so that others might live, just as others have done their part so that you might live. Wow. All right. So then, remember this, you all. Your life is filled with the promise that someone else is anticipating. And again, may I say to you that the leftovers of your life is the abundance that someone else needs. All right. So then let's move on. I'm going to move on to the quote for July the 29th. We're reading Billboards to Better. My friend Auntie's advice. It's always good to see you, my friend. All right. So we're reading these quotes and we're unpacking them. And we're talking about all of these things. Now, again, hang on to the title, because remember, I want to know how important is your reputation to you? Is it important what people say about you? Do people listen to you? Are you able to capture people's attention? All right, so I want to go to the quote for July the 29th. And it says this: without a heart and humility, you may never capture the ear of God. And once again, I know sometimes you all read these quotes and you think, I wonder what way he's going to go with this. I wonder how he's going to turn this. Well, let me just share this piece with you, all right? When you think about without a heart and without humility, you may never capture the ear of God. Have you ever been turned off by the way some people talk to you? Are there some people whose voices just get on your nerves? Talk to me in the chat, you all. Please let me know. Are there some people whose calls you don't take because you know that at some point during the conversation, you're going to become annoyed just by their voice? I mean, they could be as brilliant as a rocket scientist or as smart as a neurologist, but then that voice has the effect of someone scratching the chalkboard with their fingernails. Then, on the other hand, you want to say yes. Then on the other hand, there's some people whose voices you can listen to all day. I mean, they could probably be saying absolutely nothing, but there's something about their tone and the delivery that puts you at ease. They might have no more than a second grade education, but there's something about how they use their voice that could talk you off of a cliff. Why am I going there? Because I want you to understand the power of your voice. Understand the power of your voice when it is coupled with the strength of your heart. I want you to understand, let me say that again. I want you to understand the power of your voice when it is coupled with the strength of your heart. I want you to remember and recognize that you have the capacity to make people listen if you just use your voice right. Use your voice right. And by your voice, I'm referring to your vocal cords and the cords of your heart. May I remind you that you have the capacity to cause even God to incline his ear in your direction. I get it. I know it. He hears everything. He hears everything. But I don't want him to just hear everything. There are times when I need him to stop and just really incline his ear to me and give me some attention to the things that I have to say and then the things that I want to ask him. Listen, I know he hears everything. I get it. And I don't even get into arguments with people about what God does and does not hear, because let me just put this little nugget out there. Because if I was saying something and he didn't know what I was saying, that would mean that he wasn't all knowing. And he is all knowing. All right. So I don't get into arguments with people about what he can and cannot hear, what he does and doesn't hear, because this quote is not all about that. This quote is an admonition for us to recognize what we are capable of. That's what it's about. We often talk about Daniel in the lion's den, but we sometimes forget that this same Daniel, it is the same Daniel who was able to command the attention of God. So this particular quote, it's an admonition for us to recognize the power of our voice. That's what I want us to do. I want us to recognize the power of our voice. It is a reminder for us to always be sensitive and aware of our tone and the power of our tone. It's a reminder for us to take the opportunity from time to time to fine tune the thing that causes others to hear us. You have something that can cause other people to hear you. I'm going to date myself. When I was growing up, I had this drama teacher, and she would say to us, she would tell us how we had to command the moment. And then she would tell us that whenever we went out on stage, she would say to us, you make them hear you and make them listen. I was, young teenager, and this drama teacher saying, you make them hear you and you make them listen. There was this commercial. Here's why I'm going to date myself, you all. There was a commercial when I was growing up some time ago, and it said, when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. Do you all remember that? So here's my challenge question for us today. Do people hear you when you speak? Do they pay attention? Not only do they hear you, but do they listen? Because capture this piece of advice, you all. If people are not listening to you, it might be because you have not learned how to command the moment. Now, notice I didn't say that you didn't learn how to command the people. So I challenge you, learn how to command the moment, because the moment might just be about you, about what you're doing wrong, about what you need to do better, about what you need to do right, about how you need to fine tune your voice, your attitude, your approach. I know I found that so many times to be true for me. So here is motivation for tomorrow and homework for this evening. Yeah, there's homework. I don't know that I've ever given homework, but there's homework. You all, if they didn't listen to you today, examine your approach. Examine your approach, how you said what you said. And then fine tune your chords, both sets of them, your vocal cords and the chords that run to your heart. And go back out on that stage tomorrow. And I'm going to admonish you like my drama professor admonished me when I was growing up. Go back out on that stage tomorrow and make them hear you. Make them listen. Because sometimes it's not that they don't want to hear you, but they have challenges. There's so much stuff interrupting the authentic and organic you. There's power in your voice, and there's power in your voice when you combine it with the strength of your heart. All right? Just remember that. Just remember that. That's a challenge. That's an admonition. I want to push us really to become better. If they didn't listen today, ask yourself, I wonder why they didn't listen to me. Can I fine tune my voice? Can I couple my voice, the power of my vocal cords, with the cords of my heart, and be more impactful tomorrow than I was today? Just a challenge. All right. I want to go into the quote for July the 30th. Let me get to the quote for July 30th, because you all know I'm only here for how many seconds? That's right. 1800. The quote for July 30th says this, you all. And again, thank you for joining the conversation. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation, because it says to YouTube that, hey, I like the stuff that the guy's talking about, but it also encourages me. It reminds me that we are sharing conversation that's mutually beneficial. Your sharing the space with me humbles me and makes my heart glad. All right, so let's go into our quote for July 30th. And we're coming from this book here, Billboards to Better, 366 Daily Sources of Motivation and Inspiration Along the Highway of Life. It is available. It is available. Some of y'all say we need you longer, Cutler. But it is available on on Amazon.com and on www.gbcutler.com. Okay. Marsha, I'll see what I can do. But here's a quote for July 30th, and it says this: your reputation runs faster than your legs. Your reputation runs faster than your legs. That quote makes me chuckle sometimes when I go back and read it, because it reminds me of growing up. I had a friend who wore a lot of bracelets, and I'm not going to call any names because some of you all, you might know her, but I had a friend, she wore a lot of bracelets, and we would hear her coming before she got into the room because she had so many bracelets on. And even where I live in an area, it's in a flight pattern of some pretty significant aircraft, and I often hear the planes coming before I see them. And probably you have been in traffic. You've been in traffic, and I'm sure that some of you have heard the sirens of the ambulance or the police cruiser or the fire engine, and you heard it before you saw it. Am I right? Sometimes you heard the sirens coming before you even saw the truck or the car. In other words, the sound got there before the thing that was making the sound. I'm gonna see if I can work this out. Your reputation runs faster than your legs. Maybe you know people who spray on just a little too much cologne or a little too much perfume, and before they arrive in the room, the scent of that cologne or perfume arrives first. I'm just curious, if you know somebody like that, please just put it in the chat. Don't put the name of the chat, but just write the word perfume or cologne, and I'll know that you know somebody like that. Don't put the names, you all. But my point is, our reputation, it's like the sound of my friend's bracelets. It's like the sound of the oncoming airplanes. It's like the sound of the oncoming fire truck and the smell of the cologne. Our reputations will sometimes arrive long before we show up. That is why we have the saying, Tracy, you're right on it. That is why we have the saying, your reputation precedes you. It got there before you did. And whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right, wrong, or insane, people will check out your reputation long before you show up. As a matter of fact, sometimes it is your reputation that will decide whether or not you get to show up. And it always amazes me how semester after semester, I can walk into a classroom and my students had already done their background check on me. They knew how I taught, they knew how I spoke, they knew how I dressed, they knew how I graded, and they had no shame in letting me know that they had checked out my reputation before they ever checked me out. That's why some of them signed up for my class. And the interesting thing about a reputation, you all, is that you want to build a good one as quickly as possible. Because if you build a bad one, hear me clearly, it's sometimes difficult for the new good one to catch up and replace the old bad one. May I say that again? If you don't build a good reputation first, it is sometimes difficult for the new good reputation to catch up with the old bad one, because reputations will run fast, faster than your legs. They run swiftly, they run quickly. And quite often people will determine the truth about you based on the thing that gets to them first. They'll determine their truth. They'll write their narrative based on the thing that gets to them first. And I get it. I get it, you all. Sometimes you can't do anything about what people say. I get that, because people will misjudge you. People will lie on you. People will gossip about you. I get that. But I'm not talking about those situations, because I know they do all of that stuff. And sometimes they will attempt to tear you down and bring you down. But tonight we're talking about taking responsibility and building for ourselves in the beginning what we want to see at the end. We're talking about building a good name. I know it. Bad news travels fast, and sometimes people will destroy your character with lies and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just talking about us taking the responsibility and being accountability for what we can do. We're talking about building a good reputation. And may I offer you just a new perspective on reputations? Stop saying, you all, please stop saying that you don't care what people think about you. Maybe I'm the only one. I care what people say about me. I care what people say about me. I try not to lose much sleep if they lie on me. Now, let me just say that. When people get the lying and gossiping, I try not to lose much sleep about that. But I do care what people say about me because, as the Bible says, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. And I don't know what works for you, but here's what works for me. I don't hang around people who say they don't care what people say or think about them. I don't. Let me just say that again. If someone says, I don't care what people say or think about me, I don't hang around them. Because if that's how they feel about their reputation, they may feel the same way about mine. And I want my friends to care about my reputation. I want my family members to care about my reputation because I care about theirs. All I'm saying is this, you all, and I got to go. All I'm saying is this. Learn to care about your name. Because in a world where everything else matters, your name matters. Your name matters. You all, I want to say thank you so much for spending these 1,800 seconds with me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you more than you will ever know. It does my heart good when we come together and spend this time. So if you haven't done so, y'all, please go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation, a like on the conversation, and do me this favor. Tell somebody else to come back every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock and let's talk to color because we're talking. I hope, did you all think we're talking good stuff here? We're trying to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. Today was good. We want tomorrow to be great. You all, thank you for this space. Thank you for this time, whether it is your front porch, your living room, your dining room, your back porch, or whatever it is. If you're walking out on the highway with your, or doing your walk with your AirPods in, thank you all. Thank you all so much for spending this time with me. Do me a favor if you would. Let's keep on building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. There's a pandemic still out there with this Delta variant. You also do me a favor. Please stay safe. Don't let it run you crazy. Stay sane. And let's keep on keeping our heads up. But more importantly, keep your hopes up and know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Thank you all. Good night.